Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for my client Lewis's vlog again. And Lewis is continuing his cut. We started the week off with incline bench for max effort. Keep in mind I'm running just a 4-lift rotation on his max effort days. That's really all we need. He has limited equipment, and we know when cutting he's not going to get PRs, so at least we get variation. We avoid overuse. And he just continues to get the neural drive and other benefits that we get from hitting training maxes. Plus, it gives us a good assessment of what's going on with his overall strength. So, kind of the topic comes up with the cutting is that we talked about it, and it's one of those things where I'm like, ideally, I would rather you in the cut fairly soon so we can get back to making gains and we play the long game. But he also pointed out, and this is why I always tell coaches, remember with your clients have to be happy. He told me that he felt that if he cuts lean enough, that he learned his lesson not to bulk as fast as he did, because he gained weight quicker than I would have liked ideally. And a lot of young guys get overzealous with that. I had this happen a lot with younger lifters. Even though I tell them to bulk, I'm like, we need to do it at a fairly conservative rate, right? Do it at a conservative rate. We don't need to go overboard. Take our time. We want 50% or more of the weight gain to be muscle tissue, right? In a perfect world, more than 50%. We accept that we'll gain a little fat on a bulk, but it shouldn't be large amounts. In other words, we shouldn't be putting on, 20 pounds of fat during a bulk, right? We should, or that's like 9 kilograms. We shouldn't be doing that generally. And now, granted, I'm not talking about contest bodybuilders. They're different. Obviously, they have to gain a lot more because they're at an unhealthy lean body fat at the end of a cut. So again, it happens. But he's young. He's learning, and he said, "Yeah, I realized that I need to be more conservative in the next bulk." He's like, and I feel like if I get leaner, that I'm gonna walk into a bulk I think with better adherence, because he's like, I want to be at a point where I'm happy with my body fat, and then get a little leaner so that as I get 6 months into a bulk, I'm not wanting to cut again, so that we can stick it out for a year, which is what I would like to see, right? I like most of my lifters, even my advanced lifters, to bulk at least 10 months. And a lot of my guys, we do very, very slow 10-month bulks, where they are gaining a pound a month. And I know that sounds like not a lot, but if you do that, they can spend 2 months cutting, 10 months bulking every year, and we just make nice, slow, steady gains. And I've done this with some of my really long-term clients. That's difficult for people to do, right? That is very difficult for people to do. That's why people will ask me sometimes, are you bulking or doing things? I'm like, I've gained like a pound. Then the heat got here, and then it's hard to eat. But it's like, but that's acceptable, okay? If you're gaining a pound a month, that's perfectly acceptable for a very advanced lifter. Now, he's not an advanced lifter. We can get away with a little more. But I would say the same to a lot of you guys out there, in these situations. If you're very concerned about body fat and body composition, just bulk really slow. You can do nice, slow, steady bulks, and that's still a bulk. And I want to be clear on that. I hate it when people want to change words that we have used successfully for decades. A bulk means weight gain. A bulk doesn't mean that, you just get really fat. Now, there is something to be said for gaining quite a bit of fat. And I think people forget that too. Enhanced lifters really gain a lot out of that. Like guys who are using gear, I disagree with the fact that drug-free lifters should bulk more aggressively and then cut down. I feel like guys on gear benefit more, and then they can keep the muscle easier when they trim down later. Okay, I really like drug-free lifters to just do very conservative, steady, slow bulks. Okay, and the reason for it being, they're going to gain a little fat, but they're never going to have to do as aggressive of cuts, because the aggressive cuts are really a big problem for drug-free people. If you're going to have to cut more than 10 pounds, it's something to step and think about. Even over 10 is still okay, but you have to consider the ramifications of that. All right, 20 is probably the absolute most. And that's kind of what I would say, to a lot of my drug-free lifters. You cut off at 20 pounds over whatever your ideal weight is. So if you tell me and that's again 9 kilos roughly, if you tell me that your goal is to be 180 after your next cut, I'd like to keep you under 200. That's when you start thinking about, well, what am I doing? Maybe when you hit 195, you really trim that bulk back further and you say, okay, this is getting a bit much. I'm already going to have to cut 15 pounds. All right? But for drug-free people, that's a lot because you can't lose that real quick or you're going to lose muscle. And again, this is his vlog today ended up turning into mostly talking about cutting. And then he admitted, he's like, when we talk, he's like, yeah, I honestly, before I even came back to you, I was bulking too aggressive. I got my body fat too high and then came to you knowing I needed to gain. So we had to do some bulking, even though it was slow. He's like, I was already probably over 20% body fat. He felt kind of skinny fat after, he came back because he got sick and then started rebuilding on his own and bulked really fast for a couple months and came back, hired me again. After he got through his health issues and had medical clearance to train again. And so we moved him up from there. But yeah, I mean, he got to a point where he's unhappy with the body fat. And as a coach, I'm going to step back and say, you know what, I agree with your plan. We can continue to cut quite a bit leaner, even if it takes 2 or 3 more months. Let's keep trimming you down. And if we get you to a point to where you get to where you're lean enough and then you lose just a little more, okay, then we build. Because we really have a lot of muscle we need to fill back out on this kid's frame, okay? And so next time he goes to make gains, I really need it to be for a prolonged period of time. And that's why I agreed to let him continue to cut further because of that fact, that I need him to commit to that long-term weight gain. And so if that means that he has to go in leaner so that he's comfortable with it, to give us that little bit of wiggle room and then do a more conservative bulk than previously for a longer period of time, I'm happy with it. Because normally I've had some people comment, well, he's not that big, he doesn't need to be cutting. But, you've got to consider what we need for psychological adherence. All right? All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.